Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sohum Reactions. Peace, love, and positivity to you. Today's request comes from Roger, who sent us 2 tracks from the very famous Harry Chapin, Taxi and Sequel. For some context here, I have only ever heard one Harry Chapin song. I filmed a reaction to Sniper many moons ago at this point, and I didn't remember all too much of that song's specific details, but what I remember is how impassioned of a performance Harry gave, as well as his narrative style of songwriting. Rather than relying on repetition in the chorus, Harry will simply write out the story of a song and then sing out the entirety of the story. So there seems to be less of a reliance on structure and more of a focus on the topic at hand. So that's what I know going into this one today. Once again, thank you to Roger for reintroducing me to some Harry. But without further ado, let's jump into it. That's some natural harmonics for you.
It was raining hard in Frisco. I needed one more fare to make my night. A lady up ahead waved to flag me down. She got in at the light.
Okay, so he's the taxi driver.
Oh, where you going to,
Ooh.
my lady blue? It's a shame you ruined your gown.
That's a massive bass.
In the rain. She just looked out the window. She said 16 Parkside Lane.
Whoa, huge cello. I was not expecting that.
Something about her was familiar. I could swear I've seen her face before.
Acoustic bubbling in the left.
But she said, I'm sure you're mistaken. And she didn't say anything more.
Okay, so he recognizes her.
It took a while, but she looked in the mirror. Then she glanced at the license for my name. A smile seemed to come to her slowly. It was a sad smile just the same. And she said, how are you, Harry?
Ah, so they do know each other.
I said, how are you, Sue?
Wow, what a chance
The
encounter.
Too many miles and the 2 little smiles. I still remember you.
This is a small aside here, but because I've recently moved to the city, and I actually used to live in this city for privacy reasons I won't disclose exactly, but it's fun now when I get to walk around. Every so often I will re-encounter a familiar face. We knew each other from the past, and you get to see them again in a similar place, but with all these new experiences and kind of getting to revisit that conversation that may have been left, let's call it left unconcluded, and then revisiting it, reopening it, helps you kind of tap back into that nostalgic energy, but also you kind of get to bounce ideas off of one another as to how life is going now and where you end up going. And it's cool just getting to see where your friends were and where they are now. And similarly, you just catch up with one another. I find it immensely rewarding when you have those chance encounters, because nothing technically has to come of it. You don't have to go back to being best buddies or anything, but you get to kind of relive those moments with that person. Whatever transpired between you doesn't necessarily matter, because for me, getting to see them is part of the fun. See them again.
It was somewhere in a fairy tale. I used to take her home in my car. We learned about
textural.
love in the back of a Dodge. The hadn't gone too far.
Oh, so maybe their relationship.
You see, she was gonna be
they like
an
diverge.
actress, and I was gonna learn to fly. She took off to find the footlights. I took off to find the sky.
I like this melody. Also, this reminds me of John Prine, his very like story-driven style. Same thing with Todd Snyder too.
Whoa, I've got something inside me to drive the princess blind. There's a wild man wizard, he's hiding in me, illuminating my mind.
A little subtlety here, but you hear the, I think it's acoustic melody tracing the vocal precisely.
To drive the princess blind, there's
the
a
bass,
wild
actually.
man wizard, he's hiding in me,
Yeah, right there.
illuminating my mind. Oh, I've got something inside me, not what my life's about, 'cause I've been letting my outside tide me over till my time runs out.
Oh, that was like haunting female vocals. I think it sounded a bit like hollowed out too, so it was a bit harder to tell. I'm just trying to figure out where the story's going. So, oh, I've got something inside me to drive a princess blind. There's a wild man wizard. He's hiding in me, illuminating my mind. So it's like some part of his subconscious is guiding him to make different life decisions. Now that life's about, because I've been letting my outside tide me over till my time runs out. I'm not sure what this actually means. My outside tide me. Maybe he's saying I'm allowing my external world to guide the direction for my life rather than being more of an active participant.
'Cause I've been letting my outside tide me over till my time runs out.
So he had the dream of being like a pilot, and now he's not flying a plane, he's driving a taxi. So I guess he didn't achieve what he wanted to in that time, and he has the point of comparison with her. Is that Harry singing or is that a female singing? I really can't tell. There's a loftiness to it. Oh. Back to the natural harmonics in the beginning.
There was not much more for us to talk about. Whatever we had once was gone. So I turned my cab into the driveway, past the gate and the fine trim lawns.
So she made it. She like became an actress or whatever.
And she said, we must get together, but I knew it'd never be arranged. Then she handed me $20 for a $2.50 fare. She said, Harry, keep the change. Well, another man might have been angry, and another man might have been hurt, but another man never would let her go. I stashed the bill in my shirt, and she walked away in silence. It's strange how you never know, but we'd both gotten what we'd asked for.
Wow.
Such a long, long time ago.
It doesn't seem like he got what he wanted.
She was gonna
but
be
maybe I'm missing something.
And I was gonna learn to fly. She took off to find the footlights. I took off for the sky.
he's driving a taxi.
And here she's
Like I maybe I missed the detail, but how is he taking off for the sky if he's driving a taxi? Is that like his side gig? Like these days, you know, people of all professions, they're like on the side, you know, riding Uber or doing the driving thing. Feels different though.
happy inside her handsome home.
The gig share economy.
Me, I'm flying in my taxi, taking
Or the gig
tips,
economy, ride share economy.
getting stoned.
He's flying. I get it.
So high when I'm stoned.
Wow, that is bleak and hilarious. It's like he did achieve his dreams, just the homophone of high led him astray. Okay, wow. So that's Harry Chapin for you, Taxi. Seems like, I guess he got his wish. He is flying, but happens to be flying physically in a taxi, flying high, rather than like flying a commercial airline or whatever else was on his mind. Man, it's so interesting because you could take it a number of ways. Like, can we view it neutrally and just say like, hey, both people are satisfied with the outcome of their life and getting to kind of revisit that moment, to like revisit their previous moments in the future, and together gives them a moment of reconnection, not only to one another, but to that place that they both once were. Because oftentimes the way memory works, we don't have the best idea of how we exactly were unless we have the context of another person who was there with us at the time, also helping reshape that memory in the present. So like having both of them together, reliving the joint experience of the past, gives them both a better idea of, are they in the place that they want to be nowadays? And I guess the conclusion here is that he is satisfied with his current circumstance, and so is she. Even though she kind of throws it out there like, hey, let's reconnect, he views that as more of a social nicety. And again, they re-diverge. This kind of idea reminds me of this clip I saw on YouTube. It resurfaces every so often, but it's basically this man. He's being he's like in a courtroom. He's being sentenced for something, I'm not too sure, but the judge, she actually recognizes him, and then she starts to say like, hey, aren't you that guy from X and Y elementary school all the many years ago? And he's like, yeah, I am. And then she's like, wow, I remember you. I was, Suzanne from this same school. We were in the same grade. I wonder what happened to you. And then he immediately like recognizes her through the recounting and starts breaking down, because he sees that she's in that position where, she was a judge and she's accomplished a lot, presumably some of her dreams. And on the flip side, he's now heading to jail. And I'm sure in his mind, the reason he's breaking down is the immediate contrast in life path, but also viewing his younger self from his current position because of the shared experience they both had in the past. It's truly a heartbreaking video. I was tearing up as I was watching it. I feel like a version of that is happening in this song. Now, it's not completely a problem to be a taxi driver. I don't want to make it seem like that's an issue. But obviously we when we're younger have many visions of where our life goes, and sometimes when those dreams are unachieved, that can make us feel terribly, and especially if we have that point of comparison to another. But such is life. We don't really have all the answers beforehand. We do our best, I think it's best to lead with as much intention as we can. Let's keep going. So the next song here is Sequel.
So here she's acting happy inside her handsome home, and me, I'm flying in my taxi, taking tips and getting stoned.
Okay, it's the same It's a continuation of the same story. Okay, hence sequel.
I
Back
got
to the
into
natural
town
harmonics.
a little
Okay,
early.
part 1, part 2.
Had 8 hours to kill before the show. First I thought about heading up north of the bay. Then I knew where I had to go.
It's even a melodic
I
continuation.
thought about taking a limousine, or at least a fancy car. But I ended up taking a taxi, 'cause that's how I got this far. You see, 10 years ago it was the front seat, driving stoned and feeling no pain. Now here I am straight and sitting in the back, hitting 16 Parkside Lane.
Hold on. I'm pretty sure if I go back to the lyrics, that's exactly where Sue lives. He's going back.
So here,
Where is that? Right here.
now here I am straight and sitting in the back, hitting 16 Parkside Lane.
So he doesn't want the story to end between her and him. Let's see where we go. Oh.
The driveway was the same as I remembered, and a butler came and answered the door. He just shook his head when I asked for her and said she doesn't live here anymore. But he offered to give me the address that they were forwarding her letters to. I just took it and returned to the cabbie and said, I got one more fare for you.
He's like, I gotta
And
make
so
this
we rolled
reconnection
back
happen
into
at
the
all
city,
costs.
up to a 5-story old brownstone. I rang the bell, it had her name on the mailbox. The buzzer said somebody's home.
Oh, I love the drumming.
And the look on her face as she opened the door was like an old joke.
One thing, I know I haven't talked as much about the musicality as I have about the lyrics in this one. It's just so much, it's so fun to like unpack the story as we go. But there's a lot of cool stuff happening in terms of texture within both of these songs. And again, I'll just note from the very even beginning, I expected there to not be repetition in structure. That is that has remained true. There is simply no chorus. It is all just a continuous stream of musical and narrative thought.
Told by a friend, it'd taken 10 more years, but she'd found her smile, and I watched the corner start to bend. And she said, how are you, Harry? Haven't we played this scene before? I said, it's so good to see you, Sue. Had to play it out just once more. Play it out just once more. She said, I've heard you flying high on my radio. I answered, it's not all it seems. That's when she laughed and she said, it's better sometimes when we don't get to touch our dreams.
Wow. Because they're not what we make them out to be. The reality
That's
is
when I
different.
asked her, where was that actress? She said that was somebody else. And then I asked her why she looked so happy now. She said, I finally like myself. At last I like myself.
Oh, wow. So I didn't pick this up the first time around, but I guess the first rendezvous in the taxi, she wasn't happy with her life. She was super successful. But obviously those two things aren't one and one. And now seems like she moved away from all of the glamour. When earlier there was the reference of the 5-store brownstone, that seems like she's now living in like a smaller apartment in the city. So she's like reduced her lifestyle. Maybe she has fewer means, but she's happy. And that's a far better position to be in than being wealthy but sad. Having the castle walls be beautiful doesn't make the inside beautiful. To reference Castle Walls by T.I. and Christina Aguilera.
And then I asked her why she looked so happy now. She said, I finally like myself. At last I like myself.
I love this melody. I love this melody. Oh, it's giving me chills. I'm sorry about the, there we go.
So we talked all through that afternoon, talking about where we'd been. We talked of the tiny difference between ending and starting to begin. We talked 'cause talking tells you things like what you really are thinking about.
Yeah, express your inner world. That makes sense.
Sometimes you can't find what you're feeling till
that also
all
makes
the
sense.
words run out.
Right. You just have to dump it, really. Or you hear the volume picking
So
up.
I asked her to come to the concert. She said no, I work at night.
I'm reminded of Billy Joel
I
right
said
now.
we gotten too damn good at leaving Sue. She said, Harry, you're right. Don't ask me if I made love to her or which one of us started to cry. Don't ask me why she wouldn't take the money that I left. If I answered it all, I'd lie. So I thought about her as I sang that night, and of how the circle keeps rolling around. How I act as I'm facing the footlights, and how she's flying with both feet on the ground. I guess it's a sequel to our
The lyricism
story
is awesome.
from the journey between heaven and hell. With half the time thinking of what might have been, and half thinking just as well. I guess only time will tell.
Oh, wow. That ended the way like movies end. So if I have the story straight, they were initially like an item together, and let's call it like 1970, I don't know. And then 10 years later, their life paths diverged and they reconvene in that taxi, and he is high in the taxi. He didn't achieve his specific dream of being a pilot, but she achieved her dream of being an actress, though she wasn't happy with it. And then another 10 years pass by, and I guess now we're in 1990, call it, and they reconvene again, but he seeks her out this time around, and all he wants to do, he has no expectation of like any romantic rekindling, but more so, let's just talk. Let's just hash it out, get all of the things that are in our mind and on our chest off of those places, and see where we land. And she's now happy. She's no longer an actress, and I couldn't quite figure out if he had like become like successful himself, or he was still living like the same kind of life he had before. So somehow, some way, in this last scene and sequel, they are both jointly reminiscing on their pasts and kind of just going back and forth, reflecting together. Even though they kind of had different paths, they agree on some commonalities. there was one thought that now is escaping me, unfortunately. Having to do with the loss of dreams. Like she mentions before, like, hey, I touched my dreams and they're not all cracked out they're all, what's that expression? They're not all cracked out to be what, okay, you know what I'm talking about. She achieved her dreams. She wasn't happy about it, though she expected to be. And seemingly he had already achieved his dreams of being high. He was just enjoying living life. And in a sense, he didn't achieve his dreams, but he also has a similar feeling that she does, even though she achieved hers and he didn't achieve his. They still both found that, like, solace can be found outside of that place anyways. You can find healthy either A, coping mechanisms, or B, ways to reconcile the differences in expectation versus reality. And I feel like just so long as you are being real with yourself and you're being happy with whatever success or lack thereof you have, you can still find happiness within. I think oftentimes in our more consumer-focused, success-focused culture, the optics are what people seek out as the thing that will give their life meaning. That's not what gives life meaning. The relationships that we have, the shared experiences that we have, the self-esteem that we carry within, those are all so much more important than wealth, than fame, than success. Success, I think, is being happy within and then having that happiness propagate outward to your friends, to your family, to your loved ones, to anyone who graces this world. And it seems like they're both jointly arriving at a similar kind of conclusion together. I like these Harry Chapin songs because for me, the focus becomes more of the story, and I have always, as a kid, loved story time. Oftentimes when I go to bed, I'm playing some kind of story, like a, rather like it's an audiobook or like a YouTube short story, somebody narrating and I'm listening. It sends me right to sleep. But also if I'm awake and I happen to enjoy the story a lot, I take pleasure in that too. Either way, this was an awesome set of requests. Thank you very much to Roger for sending this my way. If you would like to send me a reaction request, you can do so by using the first link in the description box below. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and peace.